And I am C-3PO, Human Cyborg Relations. And this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
You know, I don't get paid for saying it, obviously, but George Lucas did revolutionize filmmaking.
He did.
And I've been there and seen so many aspects that, you know, from day one where things were being pulled along a piece of string or wire to animate them, to they're not there at all, they're animated in a computer, to having wonderful sets to going to totally green screen and whatever, and then back again. Because that visceral thing of the green screen set is something in your brain says it's not real. So Star Wars does contain every aspect of filmmaking, and because I've been in all 9, 10, 11 of them, it's like I've absorbed, you know, quite a lot.
And on The Force Awakens, Peter Mayhew was there to help the actor who would eventually replace him as Chewbacca in the costume, to show him how Chewbacca should move and what his reaction should be. How do you feel about the possibility that someday, I mean, Disney is producing so many Star Wars things, C-3PO may be played by another actor?
Well, that's how I end my book. 3PO is too big a personality, a character, an entity to not exist just because I'm not around.
Well, do you plan on helping the next human actor? Because I think certainly one thing that's been proven is that when C-3PO is computer generated, he just doesn't have the same screen presence that when a human being is inside of him.
There have been instances where he's been computer generated, and particularly in episode 2, I think there were some sequences, and I got to say I was ashamed of them. I think the carelessness with which they were produced was an insult to the character. I think it wasn't ILM's finest hour, but that's maybe up to the person who was producing it to care enough. And it appalls me, frankly, because it not only lets 3PO down, but it lets the audience down to think that's good enough. Yeah, it wasn't.
You've played other characters for brief moments in the Star Wars movies, such as White Pointy Face and
yes,
and also Tak in Solo. Do you feel the same feelings towards those characters as you do with C-3PO?
No, Tak was just a bit of fun and started off as human slave on my trailer, and then it came back another week and there's Tak. That was because they couldn't get 3PO into that movie in any way that would make sense. But they were very, very happy that I was part of being there. And it was a crazy few days, they're crazy. I'm fond of White Pointy Face because the story I tell is exactly true. The crew had props had made this thing, but there was nobody to dress up in it. And on the day, when I do it. But that he is even more neurotic than C-3PO. He's very, and that came from looking at the face. He's got big round eyes and slightly staring black pupils from memory. I think there's a picture in the book. And I just realized, he didn't have anything to say, but he was again an isolated character in this, a very weird street scene, of course. So I'm kind of fond of him, but not in the way that 3PO is.
Okay, and I have a final question, but it's for C-3PO, actually, if you don't mind. I'd like to ask him, how does it feel to have lived your entire life in movies and TV shows and commercials with Anthony Daniels inside your head?
I say in the book, I'm talking to a child, and the child says, "Is it hard on the costume?" And I reply, "I wish somebody would ask me a question I've never been asked." And the kid says, "What would that be?" Smart kid. "You've just asked me a question I've never been asked."
That's a great compliment.
No prizes, but wow. wow, that's a real showstopper. That's a really interesting question. I've always thought that 3PO was sentient enough, certainly to know that he is not a human, but sentient enough to slightly think humans have a nicer time, that it might be pleasant to be a human. He doesn't understand them, but he might wonder why he has such human qualities. Because he must notice that he's not like the other robots that you meet, that he has perception and emotion. And he might wonder where these strange feelings come from. It would never occur to him, of course, that we were so closely connected. You've really stumped me there, Phil. Wow. I'm going to think about that.
Well, something to think about then.
Really, really. The thing that the kid stopped me, again, a bit like you had today, was when the kid said, you know, what will happen to 3PO in the end? And you and I have already talked about that. But I hadn't until that moment really thought, because I would be sad, you know, one is aware, especially these days, of endings coming. With 3PO, you slightly don't want him to just fade away or just rust or whatever. And as I say, the conversation with JJ, beloved JJ, you know, that I discussed with him about killing 3PO off. And he just said, no, not on my watch, because 3PO is too important. But I don't want him to rust away.
Absolutely not.
That's a very interesting thought. So there we are. You've been a delight to talk to.
So if you, before we leave, I want to show you, I still have my 1977 C-3PO card. You mentioned before how the experience is a dad bonding experience. Well, it's the same for me. I'm going to be 50 years old this year, and my father brought me to see Star Wars at the time. And so I can't leave you without saying thank you very much for my childhood.
You're very good. You are very, very good. I'm trying to do the numbers. How old were you? You're 50 now.
I was born in 71, so I was 6 years old when the first movie came out.
What a gift. What a gift to you at that age.
Perfect age.
Perfect age. That's because you have been extremely pleasant to talk to.
Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Over the years, I've met a lot of people, and they're not all like you. So. And partly, and this is again maybe a teaching thing, you knew what you were talking about. You had read the material. You had thought about it, and you managed to come up with a killer question. Wow. So, it's a great day here. So, do you have a family?
Yes, I do. I have a 7-year-old boy.
He's a Star Wars fan?
He is, obviously. With a father. With me as a father, he doesn't have much choice, really.
I love it. Thank you. So, it continues.
It does.
Thanks, Phil. It's been a real treat, pleasure, a real one. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you very much. And, well,
stay in touch if you want.
Good. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.